Today I would like to give you absolute certainty in one thing to do with your marketing efforts. And that is that none of it is certain. My name is Chris Hargreaves. I am from Known, Liked and Trusted, and you can not surprisingly find that at knownlikedandtrusted.com.au, and this is the Digital Marketing Mastery series where I need to come up with a more smooth introduction to these things. I feel like there are far too many syllables before I actually get into the content. I am not a big fan of long introductions. You've probably noticed this, except that now I'm extending my introduction by talking about how I'm not a fan of long introductions. So let's get into it. Ultimately, marketing, every single step of the way is a maybe. There are so many forks in the road in everything you do, whether you're making a comment or messaging a person or sending a proposal to someone. If you're having a conversation on the phone, if you meet someone in the street, if you go to a function, if you are producing content, if you are developing an email list, if you are doing live video or recorded video or putting out a podcast or writing 4,000 word ultimate guides to topic X every single week, there are still always a series of maybes that are going to come into play. And what you are hoping is that over time, the prospects of those maybes happening are largely leaning more and more towards your favor. That is, the odds are increasing that you are going to actually get some sort of favorable outcome. What do I mean by a series of maybes? I mean this. Let's say you write an excellent article. I'm just going to assume it's excellent because you've paid attention to everything I've said and you've read everything at knownlikedandtrusted.com.au and you have gone, you know what? I am producing good content. Either that or Chris isn't producing content that's good and I'm producing better content than all of my other people in my field. So you've done that. You've produced the article. And now you share it on social media or you share it with your email list. This now begins the first series of maybes. Maybe that article is interesting to people and maybe it is not. Because in your own head, of course, you decided it was interesting or you wouldn't have bothered producing it, I certainly hope. But what you're hoping is that your assessment that this particular topic presented in this particular way would be of interest to your potential clients. Now, you might or might not be right about that, and if you're wrong about that, then a lot fewer people are going to actually click on your article to read it than otherwise. The next maybe, of course, is does your headline actually do its job? Headline has one job, and that's to get people to click on the article and actually read it. That's it. It's not to be funny. It's not to be clever. The sole purpose of a headline is to get people to click on something so that they actually read the entire article. Now, maybe you picked a bad headline. Maybe you wrote a great article but dropped the ball on the headline, and as a result, nobody's going to read your great article. 1.5 people read your article, and that's your mum and your assistant who you wanted to make sure was working when you noticed all the statistics were very poor that day. So, a string of maybes. Is your article selection good? Is your topic selection good? Is your subject line or your headline good? Is it going to inspire people to click? And then, of course, even if it does capture their interest, it is a good subject, it is a good headline, do they have time to read it? Are they just going to keep scrolling? Are they busy that day? It's like, I'll come back to that. Now, come back to that is code for I will never come back to that. As I'm sure you know from your own habits, when we file stuff in the reading pile or in the read later, we star it or something in our email, how often, 1 out of 100 times do you actually come back and read in the entirety the thing that you set aside if it wasn't immediately work-related? Not very often. So there's another maybe. They were interested. It was a great topic. It was a good headline, but they're not going to read it anyway. Didn't have time to click, delete the email. Maybe the email went to junk. You have very little control over whether an email goes to junk. I mean, obviously, there are certain subject lines that are going to put it there faster than others and certain content that's going to take it straight to the junk folder. You have no genuine control, though, over that either. So there's another maybe. Will they see it at all? And so far, no one's even read your article with this series of maybes. Now, then we've got other maybes. Maybe the person who reads your article is your competitor. They're never going to hire you. Maybe it's an existing client. They appreciate it. It does some work and the relationship building, but it doesn't actually generate any work for you. So there's another maybe. Maybe they do read it, but it doesn't answer the question they had and they weren't sufficiently impressed that they're going to call you. Maybe you're writing or producing content for referrers and not necessarily for your end client. This is a pretty common strategy. The lawyer produces content for the accountant, who they're hoping is the person who's going to put them in touch ultimately with their client. Accountants often are sort of that front line for a lot of lawyers in terms of their marketing, because accountants have an immediate access to people and often a fairly good visibility on their issues as they arise. So maybe all these maybes lead to you maybe getting a referrer who will maybe think of you when they have a client who's in need for your services, and that client will maybe decide to accept that referral as opposed to the referral from Uncle Joe who they had a barbecue with on Saturday. Marketing is a series of maybes. I've laboured the point well and truly enough now. There are a lot of maybes in this game, and the job that you have is to increase the number of maybes, increase the number of decisions that need to be made, scale them up so that even if the same percentage of maybes find their way through to you, you're getting more people to make those decisions over and over and over. This is why you build an email database. This is why you build a social media following. This is why you produce a lot of content. You're increasing the opportunities for people to maybe make the decision that you're hoping they're going to make. That is the series of maybes. That's how it works. That is what marketing is involved in. Maybe you will be gradually moving people towards that decision, building their trust, building how much you're liked, building the relationship, and getting them to the point where they or someone they know will ultimately go, you know what? I'm going to hire Bruce as my lawyer. I'm going to call Mary because she seems awesome. That's the series of maybes. That's what we're trying to achieve here with these marketing efforts. It is not a definite. If it was a definite, everyone would do it. There are no definites. There are no secret sources. There are no mystical plans. There is no 3 steps to success. You can keep reading those articles all you want, but at the end of the day, your job is to increase the number of maybes that are being decided every day and to get more talented at helping those maybes be more likely rather than less likely. The more good content you produce, the more likely someone will err on the side of clicking on it or reading it or listening to it. The more friendly you are, the more likely someone is going to call you when they were umming and ahhing about whether they would bother. The more content you produce and the better it is, you're going to increase your prospects of doing that. But likewise, build up these assets, build up the database, build up the connections. Be connected with more people, increase the maybes, expand your network. Bigger network equals more maybes. That's a lot of random thoughts there towards the end, but there are many ways to increase both the prospect of the maybe landing in your favor and the number of maybes that are happening every day. Do whatever you can to increase that. And that is the job of your digital marketing strategy. That's all I had time for, and I'll see you next time.